Welcome back to the Turtle Wins the Race Home-Based Business Podcast. My name is Kara Buntin, and I've had a home-based business for 25 years. So that's what we talk about here. And this is like the fourth time I've recorded this. I have a tickle in my throat. I keep coughing. I keep saying something that's going to get me demonetized on YouTube. Not dirty words, but just topics. Okay, so the reason that I was thinking about this that I'm going to talk about today is that there was a post in my Facebook group, which you can join. The link's in the description. And it basically was that I think there was a package that was trapped in limbo. Like the tracking hadn't updated. It was going to Florida, which about last week, a few days ago, there was a hurricane that came through. So it's probably delayed deliveries in Florida and many different places. So the customer was angry. The customer was being obnoxious. And so I said, okay, look, it's a lot easier for us who are not involved with this to write a response. So I just wrote a little quick response that said, I'm sorry that the package has been delayed. If you want to go, I said, there's been a hurricane in the state. So a lot of times that will delay everything everywhere in the state. It's not just where the hurricane goes through. And if you want to go ahead and send me a message through the orders section of your personal profile, that will start the purchase protection process, and you'll be able to file a claim in 48 hours. If in that time the package shows up, you can just withdraw the claim, or you don't have to file the claim, and then everything will be fine. Okay. Or maybe not, because maybe this person couldn't use the thing. I don't know the situation for that. But what you want to do is, if someone approaches you with a problem, you want to first empathize with them, right? And say, yeah, I'm sorry that this is happening. And then here's how to fix it. Or here's another step. Here's the first step to take in order to get to a resolution. And then, whether that's the resolution that they want or not, that might be a different situation. But the first thing of any kind of customer interaction, if a customer is upset, is to show that you give a crap, obviously. Even if you don't. I mean, some people are like, I don't care. That's not my problem. It's like, well, it kind of is, because now you have to deal with the customer. Okay. If you're running a business on your website or Etsy or eBay, or anywhere a customer deals with you directly for seller support, then you have to be the customer service department. So you do have to deal with them. Now, the response that I got, and this is, I'm not trying to pick on the person that posted this, so don't run over to the group and go, oh, who posted this? Because I hear this a lot from people. And like I said, I think that I did a video about this before. So I may have spoken about this before, but I couldn't find it. So I'm like, oh, I'll go ahead and talk about it. Is it's like the one thing that they would change is to not say, I'm sorry, because that implies that it's your fault. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It's okay to say that you're sorry to a customer. I'm sorry. And I'm saying it the Canadian way, because my mother and my grandmother and my grandfather were British. So I'm sorry if you don't want me to say I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. Because, my kids are always saying, why do you say it that way? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I realized that, yeah, that's the reason. Anyway, so back to the I'm sorry. The idea that saying I'm sorry to a customer immediately implicates you, I wouldn't worry about that. Because let's say that I came up to you and said, oh, I just had my appendix burst and I had to be in the hospital for 3 days, and then it went crazy and I had to have all this other stuff done. It was bad. And they say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I don't immediately think, oh, they said I'm sorry, well, they must be responsible for my appendix. No, it doesn't. That's not what that means. Okay. So like I said, the first thing that you need to do when you approach a customer who is upset about something or is having a problem is just say, I'm sorry this is happening. Let's see what we can do. Okay, so the first part is the empathy. And if you don't want to say you're sorry, that's fine. But you do have to put something in there that shows that you give a crap. Okay. And that just tells the customer that you're going to help them. Because if you approach it like, well, that's the post office and I can't control that, that's not going to make the situation any better. So I think that I did suggest go ahead and tell them to to start that claim process, because Etsy has added that 48-hour window to the purchase protection. When they first rolled it out, people were just filing a claim and it was getting resolved 3 minutes later with no checks. It was just automatically done. Now they have to go into their purchases and reviews section in their personal profile where it has a list of everything they've bought. They have to send you a message directly from that link. And then 48 hours later, they can go in and file a purchase protection claim if they're able to do that because it was sent with tracking and on time and fits all the requirements. But they can't file a claim and be automatically reimbursed. It takes 48 hours between that point of contact where they send you a message through that form. Sending a convo doesn't work anymore. They can't just send you a convo and then file a claim. They have to send it through that message. So if you get a customer who says, oh, nah, 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 whatever the reason is, just say, I'm sorry this is happening. The post office is having trouble because of the hurricane or whatever the situation is. Or just say, I've been having, a lot of problems with shipping lately because they're taking their time and then Etsy promises things too fast. Or blame it on them, all right? Because that's 9 times out of 10, it's true. And then say, to start a purchase protection claim, tell them what to do. Go to your profile and send me a message through there because that's the official way to start the claim process. And then in 48 hours, you'll be able to file a claim. And at least that will give the customer a little glimmer of hope. It's a little tiny pinprick of light at the end of the tunnel that maybe they're going to get reimbursed. Okay. Now you don't have to reimburse people. And I have seen people who are worried that Etsy won't reimburse. And I'm like, well, then if they file a claim and they don't, then you're no worse off because if you go ahead and refund it, then you're refunding it anyway. But as long as things were sent with tracking within the processing time that you stated, and that's okay, like if you extend the processing time and you still send it within that new processing time, that is covered. It doesn't void protection when you extend the processing time. So that's not true. I heard somebody say that. But as long as you ship it on time, and it's sent with tracking, and it's under $250 with the cost of shipping added in, then Etsy will pay for that. And it's also good to tell customers to do that because if they are a scammer, see, this is like, I don't like people taking advantage of the system. Well, let Etsy monitor that because they do. If someone takes advantage of the system and is filing a lot of claims, Etsy will make them not be able to buy on Etsy anymore. They'll just block their IP address. So they just delete their account because if people do file too many claims, Etsy watches that. And if you're refunding without trying to file the claim, then Etsy doesn't monitor that at all. And these people can keep getting away with it if that's what they're actually doing. But if somebody has a package that is sitting in the transit station because there's a hurricane, then really all you can do is be empathetic. And that includes saying, I'm sorry this is happening. Because, yeah, you are sorry. And somebody else commented, yeah, I am sorry because now I have to deal with it. 100% true. That's 100% true. And like I said, I'm sorry does not mean that you are admitting that it's your fault. It doesn't. I don't know who's saying that. And I don't need to know. If you've heard this quote unquote business advice from anyone, it's terrible. It's terrible advice. And it's just, if you have to do mental gymnastics to try to figure out a way to write something that will make people not think that you're responsible, then you're thinking too hard. Just say, I'm sorry that the post office is having delays, because you are. Okay. And that doesn't mean that you're responsible for the post office having delays. It's not that big a deal. And it shouldn't be something that you're taking the humanity out of responding to a customer. Not every customer is going to be nice to you. That's just the nature of people when they get upset. And not every customer is going to be easy to handle. But if you give them the option and tell them this is what you need to do next, these are the steps that you need to take, then 9 times out of 10, they will do that. And they will be okay with it. If they keep harassing you, then just stop answering. You've told them what to do. And after that, you've given them the steps they need to take. And I have heard of situations where customers don't want to file a claim. They just want you to refund it or send them a new one. No, you don't have to do that. That's not your problem. And if you want to file, if you can file a claim with the post office for missing mail or whatever, I've had very, very mixed results, usually negative with filing claims, and it doesn't usually work. But getting the customer out of the loop and just removing them from the process is generally the best option. So I would say, I'm sorry, these are the next steps you need to take, blah, blah, blah. And if they say, I don't want to file a claim, I just want you to reimburse me, you can say, well, I'm sorry. That's not the process because I have sent everything, and the way that you get reimbursed is to go through this process, and then you tell it to them again. And if they write back and say, that's not good enough, then you just copy and paste that. Keep copying and pasting the message. You've told them what they need to do. And if they have time to write to you through the Convo system, they have time to go and find their order and send you a message there. And if they don't want to do that for whatever reason, it could be because they get away with bullying people and they do file a lot of claims. So don't do that. You don't need, and this is another thing. I'm afraid of a bad review. It's okay to get bad reviews every now and then. I get bad reviews every now and then, and I just respond to them and move on. I don't write to the customer, depending on what it is. If they said, oh, everything arrived smashed, then you can do a purchase protection claim. If that's the first thing you've heard of it, you can tell them what to do to get their money back. But if it's just something, if it's some kind of nonsense, oh, I ordered the wrong thing, 1 star. I'm like, well, that's not my fault. I would just respond to it in a professional way that makes them look like it's clearly their fault. And you can do that. And then move on. Because you're not going to get good reviews from everyone. People actually don't believe it when you have 100% good reviews. And if there's a bad review thrown in there every now and then, or just even, 2 or 3 stars, 1 star, whatever, then people tend to take that whole review situation a little more seriously. If people have only 5-star reviews, people are very suspicious of that. So don't let the review situation worry you, but you have to approach customer problems like a human. Don't be a robot, and don't be so concerned with monitoring every single word and parsing it all out to make sure that you're not showing that you have any culpability in it. Because I'm sorry, it doesn't mean that you're responsible. It just means that you are, you don't like that this situation is happening. That's all. It doesn't mean that you're responsible. So that's it. Don't worry so much. Don't worry about it so much. Just say and be cooperative, be helpful. And that's what people are looking for. And if they're being nasty, like I said, copy and paste the last response that you sent, and you've told them what they need to do. And that's all you can do. All right. So give this video a thumbs up. If you have any questions or thoughts about this, because it seems like people have some real strong thoughts about this. I will never tell a customer I'm sorry. I'm like, okay, that's up to you. I don't think you really need to worry about it that much, but that's all right. So leave me a comment. I'll talk to you later.